Okay, Masechta bava basra daf mem beis amud aleph. We're starting from mem aleph amud beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Zog the Gemara shloisha lekuches. You had 3 people that bought the same field. There was Reuven, who was the Marakama, the original person. Shimon bought it from Reuven. Levi bought it from Shimon. And Yehuda bought it from Levi. One after the other. Each one was there for a year. Shimon, who bought it from Reuven, lost the star. But the Ma'areh, Reuven, who was the Ma'areh, the Marakama, comes to Yehuda, the last buyer, and he says, hey, this is my field. He says, what are you talking about? I bought it from Levi. Who bought it from Shimon? And we're all together, 3 years of a chazaka. Shimon doesn't have a star. He has a chazaka. And he says he bought it from Reuven. Mitzdarfin.
So they want to put together.
They want to put it together. It's mitzdarfin. We say it could be. Why should I say not, and why should I say yes? Mitzdarfin. Oh, so like this.
Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda?
There's Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Shimon who bought it from Reuven. Yeah, but Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Reuven was the original owner. The seller. Shimon bought it from Reuven, Levi bought it from Shimon, Yehuda bought it from Levi. Then Reuven came to Yehuda. He says, hey, get out of this field. It's my field. He says, no, I bought it from Levi, who bought it from Shimon. Shimon doesn't have a star, but Shimon has a chazaka. So, is it considered as a chazaka? He says, mitzvah. I could say, each one of them were for a year. So now Reuven can come with a time and say, listen, you know, you guys didn't have a real chazaka, so I never paid attention. I saw, Shimon there, but you guys were short-lived. You did it like a goslin. You came in, it was a hit and run. You stayed a year and you just got rid of it. It's not a real chazaka. If I would have seen that, yeah, but it didn't look like you guys really owned the thing. If you really would have owned it, they weren't partners. No, but you're combining them together. I mean, how should I know? It looks like I never thought I saw this guy's there for a year and he left, so he never made a chazaka. And the next one also. Why should I think that you combine all 3 years? But he says you are mitzdarif. We are mitzdarif all 3. It is considered as a chazaka. He should have opened his mouth.
So who's getting the end?
So it belongs to Yehuda. Believe it. Yeah, it belongs to the last one. What were you asking? Reuven says I'm the Barakama. Shimon stole it from me. Yeah, and then Yehuda says, what are you talking about? Shimon says he bought it from you. He has 3 years of chazaka. He lost his star. Shimon said, what do you want? Now I should have my star. It's 3 years already. Amarav, so the Gemara says, kulam b'shtar. This is only going to help that each one, that Levi bought it from Shimon with a star. Yehuda bought it from Levi with a star. It has to be with a star. Why a star? Because when you sell it with a star, there's a coil. So the Ma'arer, when he heard that the second guy bought it from Shimon, he should have came in. What do you think you're the owner? Who are you selling? It's not your field. And then the Sheni to the Shlishi, Metashar, he wanted to know Kol, and he knew these people are making real sales here.
I only have a cloud that a person doesn't hold a shtar for 3 years.
Yes, so Shimon, when they come to Shimon, where's your star? Shimon can say it was 3 years of Chazaka. So what? He has the star. Yehuda has the star. Levi has the star. The only one that doesn't have the star is Shimon. But there were 3 years of a Chazaka, so therefore Shimon says, listen, what are you expecting to hold a star? It's already 3 years. But that's providing that the other 2 had a star. It was sold with a star. And the Ma'ar knew about what's going on because a star gives off a coil.
Says Shimon also had only 1 year.
Yeah, so what? But together he held on the star until the 3 years passed. In fact, the mother of the Meimah, the Sobat Rav, should. No, but everybody's a coil. Shimon bought it. Shimon bought it. Levi bought it. Everybody knows Shimon is selling Reuben's field. So Tumul Shtar, Shimon is selling living. Right. Well, you heard that Shimon is saying, taking your field, selling it? Yeah, he's telling him the word. It's not even his. If according to you, in fact, you want to maybe the Savarav. According to this, should we say that Rav holds shtar isli kola? A shtar dafkim has a kol. The Eidim leslo kola. Let's say Eidim. It was sold in front of Eidim. That's not a kol. What are you talking about? Somebody who sells a field in front of Eidim. So that's already with achrayis. He says, I guarantee you, this field, if it gets taken away, I'll replace the field. So, if he sells all his fields, you can go goyim and echos mushabadim. Let's say his field, the buyer's field. Shimon, let's say Levi bought from Shimon. Shimon sold it to Levi in front of two Eidim. Tumul, right? And he says, I'm giving achrayis. Levi, if your field gets taken away by whomever, by a lien, I will replace the field with another field of mine that I have now. And he goes ahead and he sells all his fields. Shimon. Nevertheless, we can go to the lekuchis and take away the fields. Why? Because with Eidim, the lekuchis knew not to buy it. They do a title search and they ask, is there any liens on this property? And if they find out there's a lien on the property, they should not buy it. And the lekuchis bought it, so they're going in the chas mishabadim. So you see, there's a coil even without a star. So Hasam, it's different. Hasam lekuchis. Buyers that are dishing out cash, buyers, their nature is supposed to verify. When you buy a field, when you buy a house, what do? You obviously order title search. You don't just buy it just like that. So the cooks have an inyan to do search, and if they do search, they'll find out because there was a koil. It was done in front of Eidim. But over here, when you're talking about the Me'arer, the original owner, and he sees one guy's there just for a year, and it's without a star, he's only there for a year. He's going to be Mevarer that this guy sold it to this guy sold it to that. You have to be Mevarer to find out. You have to do like a title search to find out if this guy sold it to the next, and the next sold it to the next, and it's all really one. It's stemming from Shimon. All these sales from Shimon to Levi and Levi to Yehuda, but that you have to do research. Then you find out. A ma'arer is not. That's not his derech to do research. He sees what's going on. There's only the guy is there only for a year, so therefore, by a ma'arer, I don't expect him to know that there was a chazak of 3 years and it should serve as a right, because that's not his derech to search. Mashenkin a star, if there was a star, he wouldn't even have to do a search. A star is a much bigger coil than in front of Eidim. So he would have known that it's all stemming from Shimon to Levi to Yehuda, it's all one thing, and it's a chazak of 3 years. In fact, did Rav say, by if a moicha sells a lekeach by lekuchis, in front of Eidim, you could be goyim in the chas mishabadim? But now, you land in a Mishnah. On Kufayin Hey Amar Aleph, it says, Amalas Chavei B'Shtar. Somebody who lends his friend money with a star, and if the leiva doesn't have nechasim neichayrin, if he sold at that time he had nechasim. When he lent the leiva money, so the malva had like a guarantee. He saw nechasim. He guaranteed the nechasim. So and he went ahead. The leiva sold those nechasim. So go even nechasim shabadim. So the malva could go ahead. Well, whoever he sold the nechasim to, and go collect it. And he can go collect it from the kuchis. But al yidei Eidim, but if it's to Eidim, ein goiva min nechasim b'nei chaydim. I'm sorry, al yidei Eidim, goiva min nechasim b'nei chaydim. He can only be goiva from nechasim b'nei chaydim, from the nechasim that he has right now. But he cannot go to the lekuchis because it's going to be a hefset for the lekuchis. Lekuchis didn't know without a star. Here we're saying without a star, Lekuchis wouldn't have known that he sold it. That the Lekuchis wouldn't have known that he borrowed money, that he owes money, that the loiva owes money to Amalva. Again, the loiva borrowed money from Amalva in front of Eidim without a star. So star, and then he sold his fields to Lekuchis. Plus filming for the Lekuchis. The Malva can't go to Lekuchis. The Lekuchis didn't know about it. A star, yeah. So you see, Faket, Rav, the Mishnah says Faket from Rav. Rav said, Even with Eidim, you can be Goyim from the Kuchis, and the Mishnah says no. Only with a star, but without a star, you can't be Goyim from the Chas Mishabadim. And if you want to say Rav is a Tana, Rav lived at the end of the Tekufis of the Tanoim, and he was at the beginning of the Tekufis of the Amoraim. And because of his greatness in Torah, he was considered like a regular Tana. And so we find a lot of times, we find that the Rav is able to argue with the Tanoim. With a Mishnah, with Tanoim. And if you want to say Rav is a Tana, he's able to argue with the Mishnah. In fact, the Gemara about Rav Ushmuel, the Amit Havaya, Rav himself said together with Shmuel that milva al peh, if it's a milva without a star, it's al peh. He cannot collect not from Yosher, not from the Kuchis, because it's a milva al peh, and the Kuchis, what have they done? I mean, they couldn't have found out. Only if it was a star, then they would have been at fault not to buy it. But Eidus, no, it's saying with Eidus, that's a milva al peh. He says if it's just a milva al peh, Rav himself says here that he cannot be goyim from the Kuchis. And before we said he could, so it's a contradiction. Says the Gemara, milvas v'nikaramis. You're asking from a case of a loan that's over here, which is a milva al peh, and the case that we spoke before about 3 lekuchis. Lekuchis is different. Why? Because milva kikayaziv mitzina kayaziv. Milva alone. When a lego wants to borrow money, he wants to borrow it quietly. Why? Because people will see, he's desperate at that fucking guild, and he's going to sell his nechasim. Nobody's going to pay him the right price. They'll take advantage of him because they know he doesn't have money. But when it comes to lekuchis and a sale, a regular sale, somebody who's selling it, he does it because he wants to have more bids. In order that a kol should go out, he'll get a higher price. You put it on COL, and then everybody starts bidding against the other guy till you get the right price for the house. 4 million, 4.4, whatever. Yeah, that's the price.
Make an auction.
Auction. Yeah, look, Absolute Schmal's house went very high. The Rabbanim you learned. If the father had eaten 1 year, and the son had eaten 2 years, so they made a chazaka. Between the father and the son, there's 3 years. Or the son ate 1 year. And the father ate 1 year. I'm sorry, Ben Shana, but the Ben lived 1 year. And the father lived 1 year. And after that, Haben Shana, the son lived another additional year. I'm not saying it right. 1 second. Again. Achala of Shana, Haben Shtayim, that's one case. So you have 3 years. Then Av Shtayim, Haben Shana. That's another case. The father was there 2 years and the son had 1 year. And the third case is Av Shana, Haben Shana, Ve'alekeyah Shana. And they say Chazaka, this too is a Chazaka. Why is it a chazaka? By the lekeach, because everybody knows by the lekeach when he sold it to a star, he sold it to lekeach. There was a tumult. If the balabas should have complained, he should have known that it was sold, and the father and the son also had the years, and he said nothing. Says should we say when a buyer buys a field, there's a coil that people find out about it? What do you mean? I'll ask you a question, a stira. Let's say that the one that was being marzik in the Sada was in the field in front of the father for a year. And the same guy who was sitting while the father was alive, he was sitting 1 year. He sat 2 more years when the son was around. So that. After the father died, or the reverse, b'fnei av shtayim, this guy who was being marsik in the field was sitting in front of the father 2 years, and b'fnei abein shana, and in front of the son he was sitting a year. So that's 3 years. Or b'fnei of shana, or he sat. This machzik was in front of the father 1 year. B'fnei ben shana, and in front of the son another year. B'fnei alekeich shana, and in front of the alekeich a 3rd year. Harei zu chazaka. It's a chazaka. If you're going to say a lekeach has a koil, you're saying the 3rd year he sat was when the son sold it to lekeach. When the son sold it to lekeach, the machzik should have seen that it's not a chazaka, because the balabas is still selling. He has the field and he's selling it to a buyer. So there's no greater macha than that. It's like telling the machzik, "What are you doing? I sold this field now in front of your face." So that's the biggest macha possible. And we said it's a chazaka. How could it be a chazaka? Is a raya a lekeich hat nicht kein koil? Sagt die Gemara, aber Papa answered, Kitanya he. When did we learn that beraisa? B'meiches sedoisa stam. That he sold. He wasn't a fadet which fields. He didn't delineate or detail which fields he's selling. He said, the Keich says, I want to buy all the fields of the Yodesh. But so it wasn't including this field. The Machzik was thinking, he's buying all the fields of the Yodesh, but the one that I'm sitting here and have 3 years of Chazakah was excluded from that sale. So that's why the Machzik, it wasn't a Machav for the Machzik. Because we can interpret that the Lekeich bought everything except for the field that he was sitting in.
Who belongs to the field?
Huh?
What is the field?
To the Machzik. Because the Lekeich, the Lekeich, you want to say Lekeich made a, when he bought it, it was like a Macha in front of the Machzik. So we say it's not a Macha because the Machzik said, you didn't sell my field, you sold all the fields of the Yodesh. The Yodesh sold you all his fields. But not my field that I'm sitting in. Not the father. There was a machzik, a stranger, came in the second case, I'm telling you. The last case. There was a stranger sitting in a field in front of the father 1 year. And then the father. And the father passed away. The stranger sits now by the son another year. And now the son sells it in front of the machzik while he's sitting there to a lekeach. And he sat in front of the lekeach a 3rd year. We say, hey, that's not already, we want to say that should be a macha. So we said it's not a macha. It's not considered a macha. Why? Because the Yodesh said he's selling all the fields he has of his father. But he was, like in his mind, thought that's not a macha because he's selling except for the field that I'm in. Okay. Sagt the Mishnah, Umnim is somebody like a dyer or launderer or tailor. So in there we say this is a different type of chazaka from the rest of the Mishnah, because that type of chazaka is kol ma shetach yodei shel adam shelayu. That's a chazaka. So over here it's not going to be. Normally that's a chazaka the minute you have possession of it. But if a tailor has your suit, we're not going to say, oh, he's holding on to your suit. It's his, because it's what's the tailor's job? He's always holding on to other people's stuff and he's fixing it. So it's nishkenaya. He has a chazaka. It's not his. Now we're talking about 3 years of chazaka. Shutvim and karka. So we say, let's say the shutv took and he took possession of the whole sada, which 2 people were shutvim, and the partner was never there. After 3 years, he says it's mine, and the Gemara is going to explain. But arisin. So we say it's not a chazaka. Why? Because it's the derech for shutvim. The shutv should be in his part of the field. Harisan, a worker who's allowed to be in the field. Is a worker, sharecropper. He gets a chelek of the field, 25% or 50%. But he's there. He's allowed to be there. He's always there. Zok the Gemara, Eilam Chazaka, Apotreipin is somebody who was appointed to take care of the nechasim of the Yisraelim or nechasim of other people for the Bailam. Eilam Chazaka. They don't have Chazaka in those nechasim because they're constantly there. They're there with permission. So if in any of these cases he claims that he bought nechasim and his raya is because he was there 3 years, that's nishkaraya. He has to bring a star. Loy ish says the Gemara. So too loy ish chazak b'nichsesh ishtay. A man who's eating in the nichsei melug of the chassan that the woman came into the marriage with. He gets to eat the paytas. He says, "Oh, I've been eating paytas in this field for 3 years. It's my field." No, it's nisim elug. He was allowed to be there. That doesn't show that he had a chazaka. And so too, a woman who's eating in the fields of the husband, a husband is mechuyev b'bzaynasera. He has to sustain her. So that's why she's in the field. But it's not an eye that was a chazaka. And not a father who could make a chazaka. He say, my son's fields are mine now. It's the father cannot say that because it's normal for a father to take care of the nechasma of the bain, and that's why it's normal for him to be there. It's not an ayah that he has a chazaka, or the vice versa also. It's normal for a son to take care of the nechasma of the father. So therefore, saying that he had a 3-year chazaka doesn't prove anything, because it's the derech for them to be there. But when were these words said? B'machzik. What all these things we're talking about a chazaka al tzaraya. We're talking about chazaka with a taina. So we say the chazaka is a raya to the taina. So there we say in these cases chazaka doesn't help. Let's say somebody's giving somebody else a present, or ha'achan shecholku, or brothers that divided the nachla of the father, and one of them want to get a specific chelik of it. Somebody wants to be machzik, the ger who dies, he has no relatives. His fields are hefker, so you can be kainait. So here we're going to talk about a different. Here we're talking about kinyan chazaka, nishta chazaka that's araya to your taina. So how do these cases become yours? In all these cases, no. If he placed the door to lock the chotzer, or he put a lock, or begada, or he built a wall, or faratz, or he made broke a wall. Yeah, he broke open what do you call this? A throughway. He made an opening for a door, let's say, an opening for a person to go in and out. Kolsho, even if he made a little bit of opening, that is the chazaka of kinyan to be acquire side from the gate, the chasma of the gate, which is hefker, and side from the matana. So that it is a chazaka.
Only 3 years.
No, that's chazaka. That's kinyan chazaka. Before we were talking about chazaka as 3 years to serve as a raya to the taina. Here we're talking about chazaka as a kinyan. Abu the Shmuel, the father of Shmuel, the Levi, Tanu Shutav Ein Lo Chazaka. They didn't start off the Mishnah with the words ha'umnim. They started off ha'shutvim, ha'arisim, ha'putrapin. They left out the words umnim. Why? Because they said if the koshkein uman, I don't need to say uman. A shutiv, if you say a shutiv doesn't have a chazaka, which normally there makes sense that if he was there 3 years, right? So he had one chelek. It makes sense that he would have bought the other chelek to have the whole sada for himself. But a uman, he had no chelek in that. He never had a chelek in that guy's garment. The guy gave him to fix the garment. So for sure, it's not going to be a chazaka. So that's why they weren't goydis uman in the Mishnah. What? Right. Ein Lo Chazaka. Koshkein uman is not a chazaka. He says, I don't need to say uman. They weren't goydis the word uman. Shmuel Tani uman. Ein Lo Chazaka. Shmuel Dafka learned uman doesn't have chazaka. Aval shutiv yesh le chazaka. But he learned when it comes to a shutiv does have a chazaka. Zakti Gemara be'azda Shmuel tamei. Shmuel goes according to his reasoning. Dama Shmuel said, "Hashutafim machzikin zeh al zeh." Shutvim can make a chazaka. Each one could make a chazaka in the chush, in the chelek of the shutiv, if he sat there 3 years. Umeidin zeh al zeh, and they could testify for one another, and they're not considered as negei b'hedus. If there was a ma'arer on one of the shutvim that chelek doesn't belong to him, the other shutiv could testify for him. And the Gemara will explain. Menasim shoymei sacha zelazeh. And if let's say I was holding for my shutiv something in my chelik of the sada, and it gets stolen, I'm chayiv for gnei ba'aveda like Hashem sacha. Why? Even though he didn't pay me, I'm still called Hashem sacha because we exchange favors. He watches for me. He's going to watch for me in exchange that I'm watching for him. You see, there you go. You got Shmei li ve'esh melech. That's the lashon of the Mishnah. Shoy mesacha. I watch for you. You watch for me. The Esh Melach, I watch for you. The Mishnah says, right? Yeah. So it's a Shem Zechah has a din like a Shem Zechah. You want to say he's the Chiddush is he's anyway not going out of his way. He's watching already for his own stuff as well. But not there's still in all he has a din like a Shem Zechah.
You share a responsibility.
Yeah. Zog the Gemara, Rabbi Lei, Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Huda, Bimarta, Devei, Rav Zakai. Rabbi Abba asked a shayla Rabbi Yehuda in the cave of the house of Rav Zakai. Others say it wasn't a cave. Others learned the gisa b'ma'atzarta. Ma'atzarta is a press where they press figs, whatever. So he asked Rabbi Abba asked Rabbi Yehuda, "Mi Amar Shmuel shutiv yesh lechazaka?" Did then Shmuel say a shutiv can make a chazaka in his friend's chelik? But Amar Shmuel shutiv. A shutif that goes into his friend's chelik is kiyoyed b'shus dami. He's only considered as somebody who goes into the shus of his chava through his shlichus. Etem geschickt dorten. Even though he didn't send him, it's considered as if he sent him there. Lav lemember. Why did the Mishnah say he's kiyoyed b'shus dami? To tell us the shutif ain't like chazaka. That a shutif doesn't have a chazaka. He has a din like a oris. He sent him there to do work for him. So the Gemara like kasha. That's not a kasha. Yeah, and before that's the kasha. Before we said the Omar Shmuel Hashutafim Machzikin Zalzeh, and here we said Shmuel said the shutif that enters into the chelik of his friend is only kiyoyed b'shus dami. He's as if he's working for him as a shliach. And obviously he's come to tell us that a shutim cannot make a chazaka. So there's the two ways of looking at it. We'll get to it in a minute. Here it's talking about that he took the whole field for himself. And here it's talking about he didn't delineate which chelik of the field he's taking for himself. There was a better half and a worse half. And he made a chazaka in the better half for 3 years. So, Amri la lahai gisa, there are those that explain that the chilik is like this: that if he went into if he took the whole sadam for 3 years, and the deal was, if he took the whole sadam for 3 years, it's going to be a chazaka, because it's not the derech for a person to take the whole field, and one guy, when there's two shutvim, that one guy right at the beginning will earn nothing for the first 3 years. And then after 3 years, he'll have it for 3 years. That never happens, he says. It's not the derech. But for a field to have, so therefore, if he was there 3 years, it's going to be a chazaka. But a field that's half and half, and he says he was there for the 3 years for the better half, that's not going to be a chazaka because they tend to switch off. How they say faket, that it is the derech for the whole sada to make a deal that I take it for 3 years or 4 years and you take it for 4 years. But when it comes to a field which there's a half that's better and a half that's worse, and you're going to always take the better half, that's going to already look fishy. Usually you go b'shutzas together. If you're both there, you split all the payers equally. Not that one who's always taking for the first 3 years the better half, and the next 3 years he's going to take the better half. The way it works is, when you have a field and there's a better and a worse half, you take your shutfim, all the earnings, and you split it. So therefore, if he took the better half for 3 years and the guy took the lesser half, and he didn't say a word to the guy who was kept on taking the produce of the better half for 3 years, that's going to be a chazaka. But for a whole field that he was there for 3 years is nishkenayim, because other people make deals that the first 3 years you'll take the whole earnings, and the next 3 years I'll take the whole earnings, and therefore won't be a chazaka by a whole field. So there's two ways to learn it. Both cases are talking about the whole field. But like kasha, and it's not a kasha. Here we're talking about there's a sada that you could divide it in half. Each one could take his half and work with the half that he has. And therefore, so if he'd had the whole sada for 3 years, then obviously it's going to be a chazaka. He holds like the first day. It's not the derech that if each one could make his parnasa on his own half, that he should give away the whole sada for 3 years. That doesn't make sense. And if he was there for
saying more or less the same as
like the
before.
first one, like the first Girsa. So that's what, no, the Chiddush is, and Hod the Leizba Din Chalukah. Here we're talking about when there was no Din Chalukah, that you couldn't divide it. It was less than 8 amas l'mashal, and you need 8 amas to divide a sada, even though by sada depends what kind of crop it is. So if there wasn't 8 amas to divide, so you can't say that, oh, I had it for 3 years, so I have a chazaka. That there, it's not going to be a chazaka, because
How else should they deal with it?
so, one guy uses it for 3 years, and the other guy uses it.
That's acceptable.
That's acceptable because
That's
it's too
not a
small.
chazaka, that's not a chazaka.
Because neither of them was, because both of them couldn't work at the same time.
You can't divide.
They can't divide it, so it makes sense. The deal should be, I have it for 3 years, and you have it, and the next 3 years you have it. But if it's a field that you can divide, so it doesn't make sense that I should give you the whole earnings for the first 3
So what
years.
did they do in this field that they couldn't divide? So, if you
So the deal was, so it wouldn't be a chazaka. You have it for 3 years, and I have it for 3 years. If I had it for 3 years, I can't claim I bought it from you, because it wasn't a field that we could have worked together in. But in the first case, where it was a din chalukah and each of us was able to work there, doesn't make sense that I give you the whole field to have for yourself for 3 years, and then I take it for 3 years. It says the Gemara go from Memphis land, Ashmol Shutif, a partner kiyoret rishus dami. We'll leave this for tomorrow. Zalman is here. We'll stop.
Did you find the Gemaras or-
So what? No.
Go from Memphis land. It's just a couple more words. Shmuel said, Shutif kiyoret rishus dami. A shutif, we said, when he goes into his friend's chelek, he's like going there b'shlichus as a oris. In fact, what does he come to teach us? Shutafis ain't like chazaka. That shutvim cannot make a chazaka if he's in his friend's chelek for 3 years. Say so lema say befeida shutiv ain't like chazaka. Say a shutiv cannot make a chazaka. Why did you use the lashon? It's kiyoyre b'shus dami. And the Yimon Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rabbi Avua. Rav Nachman said the name of Rabbi Avua lema to tell us shenoitel b'shevach hamagia l'kseifayim. That let's say the artist starts his job and there's crop already almost ready, even though it's 3/4 ready when he came in, he could split from that as an artist and take his chelik even from that part that's almost ready, and he doesn't have to be from the beginning of the crop till it became ripened. Or the sada sheina asuyalita. Let's say it was a sada that's not made for planting trees, and he planted. To tell us that the shutiv takes in the shvach amagil chesfayim. Okay, that the shutiv, he could take even from the ready-made peiris and split it, even though when he came into work for him, it was 3/4 ready. Or it's besada shein asuyalita. It was a field that was not made for planting, and he went ahead and planted trees there. So l'cheda, it's like somebody who gave you to dye black and you dyed red. So there we always yoda al tachtena. Either he takes the expenses if the expenses are less, or if the whatever is more and the profits are more, the profits go to the other person. Here we don't say that. Here we say he's mamish like a aris, and he gets his share crop 25% or 50% like a regular aris. Kisoda hasui like a regular sada which is made to plant, even though this sada is not made to plant, we'll consider it as a sada that's made to plant, and he gets his regular chelik in it.
The shutter.
The shutter.